Well, good morning. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you with us. You know, we have been in the middle of a canning lid shortage. Not just lids, but jars and other things. But jars are reusable and metal lids are not. And the truth is, since the shortage started, the market has been flooded with garbage lids. So I have done some research and I have been reviewing the new lids that seem to be from the best companies, manufactured the best, to help you sort of sort the wheat from the chaff so that you have some idea when you're buying new lids from a new company that you're not just throwing your money away. So today I am reviewing Denali lids, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Denali. And I'll tell you a little bit more about these lids and the company, but right now, if you will, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, and subscribe to our channel so that you get a notice of new videos when I post them. Let's start reviewing. So these are the Denali lids. They come in regular and wide mouth. The disclaimer here is that I bought my first Denali lids, and I contacted the company to ask them some questions to include in this video, and they sent me 2 more packs. It is not generally my practice to accept gifts and then review them. Generally, when I'm going to review something, I buy it and then review it, so I don't feel I'm beholden to anybody. I have done one video where I got a knife and then reviewed it, and I was very clear about that in the video. So I bought Denali lids. So what I'm showing you here is the box. There's a website on there. There's a little bit of the story of the company. Nicely boxed. I did struggle a little bit to open the box with my arthritic fingers, but I'm going to skip over all that. Okay, what you see here is a ball wide mouth lid. I just grabbed a wide mouth lid because it was closest to hand. And over the 40, almost 50 years I have been canning, I have used thousands and thousands and thousands of ball lids. And I basically have no complaints about the individual lids. I do have some complaints about the sort of macroeconomic situation that having a monopoly creates. And I'll get to that more in a minute. What you have here is a Denali regular mouth lid. And they pretty much look the same, but they're not. The one on the left, the ball lid, has a sealing compound made out of plastisol. The Denali lid has a sealing compound made out of silicone. Now let's see if we can see the difference with the naked eye. If you press on the plastisol with your nail, it leaves a little impression. And if you'll look, let me see if I can show you that impression. If you press on it, can you see the little impression? And it comes back. On the Denali lid made with silicone, if you press on it, you see the same little impression. It actually does snap back a little more quickly. That's just to the naked eye. The lid itself feels smooth. There are no little slivers of metal. They're manufactured about the same. Now, I think the Denali lid may be just a tad thicker, but that's hard to tell with the naked eye. Okay, I'm taking a little break here because there's something I want to tell you, and I don't have time otherwise. If you're doing a search on the interwebs, some brilliant folks are going to tell you that silicone cannot be used in canning lids because its melting point is too high to melt and form a seal with the rim of the jar. This is an excellent illustration of the old adage, a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. If you have silicone kitchen tools, like we used to buy when we used to use Teflon, you'll note that they don't melt at high heat. When they get hot enough, they combust. They just burn. But silicone is a very flexible sort of material and can be made in many ways. And different formulations have different melting points. For example, you can buy silicone ink. If you've had printed t-shirts, it's likely someone used silicone ink. Some gaskets are made of silicone, and the silicone formulation used to make canning lids is formulated to melt at canning temperatures. So if you see someone talking about silicone not being appropriate for canning lids, just turn off their blog or their channel or whatever and don't pay any attention, because they clearly don't understand. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled video. So I'm going to do some canning with these Denali lids, and I'm going to take out what I need. There are no directions on the box, so I called the company. They don't have to be heated. They just need to be washed in tap water and soap and rinsed well. So I have some broth on the stove, and I'm getting all my canning stuff together. I'm going to just show you the reason that I'm doing the actual canning is because I want to show you that I use these in the same way I use any other lids. The first thing I always do is check my rings. You know, most of the time, if you have a seal failure, it's probably due to an imperfect ring. So I always clean out my rings and check them for any dents, check to see if they're out of round. And I don't care how well you wash your rings. You know, we just use them over and over and over again. I don't care how well you wash them. There's a little crease there where a tiny bit of old food or a tiny bit of rust can hide. So I always clean my rings out with a little bit of vinegar. See, now that was washed in the dishwasher and dried, and there's still a tiny bit of rust that you can't see just giving it a quick look. So clean them out. And Lord, I'm not saying you're dirty, and I'm not saying I'm dirty. I'm saying there's a crease in there, and over the years I have found that little bits of gunk and little bits of rust seem to accumulate there, and a good, perfectly clean, perfectly round ring will just save you lots of grief later. So you see that little bit of rust that's forming in there? Yes, you can get it all out with a little vinegar. And don't hesitate to throw the rings away when they're out of round. If they get a ding in them, just throw them away. Or use them for crafts, whatever. So I'm ready to start canning. Got my jars heated, got my broth hot, and I have washed my lids and dried them off. And this is another quick break. Let me just throw this in. Okay, things that cause shortages, monopolies. If you only have one supplier for any commodity, if there is a glitch in the supply chain and that supplier cannot manufacture, then wow, what happens is shortages. And when you only have one company supplying that commodity, then it takes longer to overcome the problems that caused the shortages to start with. So, in my humble opinion, it is to our benefit to support competition. Back to our regularly scheduled video. So I'm just canning broth, just going to let you see that I do this the same way as I do it with any other lid. And while I'm doing it, I'll tell you another couple things about the company. Denali is an American company, and during the shortage, they are contracting to have their lids manufactured overseas. On their website, which I will list in the info section, they mention that they are building 2 plants in the U.S. for future manufacturing. Right now, the manufacturing is done overseas and the quality control is done here in the U.S. And I'm not one of those people that believes anything manufactured outside the U.S. borders is necessarily trash. I am a person who believes that you have to be really careful and test and watch what you buy that's manufactured anywhere in the U.S. or in Asia or in Europe. Okay, now I'm just cleaning my rims with vinegar. I'm putting the lid on, and I'm going to put my ring on now. A little trick. When you're putting your ring on, if you put it on and then turn it backwards, if the ring is out of round, it won't seat properly. If it is perfectly in round, it'll just plop right down, level, finger tight only. And I will tell you that when I contacted the company, they stressed finger tight only. So this one's going in the canner. Then I'll grab another jar. So let's talk about why that's important. During the canning process, the heat and the pressure drives the excess air, the air that's there in that 1-inch headspace, drives the air out of the jar. If your lid is being held too tightly by the ring, then that can force the lid to buckle, to bump up due to the pressure. The lid has to be loose enough to allow the pressure to escape, to allow the air to escape due to the pressure. Now, I have seen folks on YouTube and Facebook showing pictures of buckled lids and complaining about the lids. And it could be the fault of the lids, but it's most likely user error. Tightening a jar only finger tight allows the pressure from the heat to drive out that air, and then when the jars start to cool, it pulls a tight vacuum. And if you have it too tight, you're going to get buckles. Well, you're likely to get buckles. And it is true that poorly manufactured thin lids are more likely to buckle if you tighten your rings too tight. So this is going in the canner. I'm just doing the regular canning process. When they're done, I will wait the regular 12 to 24 hours and check back with you in the morning. Okay, here are my pretty jars. I'm going to take these rings off and check for a seal. You can see all of the lids are concave, meaning they've pinged. They've sucked down and formed a vacuum. That's the first test for sealing. You've got the concave lid. So let's get these rings off. They come off smoothly. They were not too tight when they went in. Okay, I'm a little clumsy here, I have to tell you. I have developed gout in my left hand. Oh my goodness, that's painful. It's better now. So the second test is to lift the jar holding only the lid, trying to get your fingers just around the top part. And I often tell people, do not be careful when you do this. Be a little rough with them. Give them a shake. Make sure they're sealed tightly. If you treat them like they're fragile at this point and just barely check the lids, you might have a false seal. and we don't want that. So really pick them up, give them a little shake, make sure they're firmly sealed. The next thing you do to check, the third check for a proper seal, is that you tap on the lids and listen for the sound. And because I don't have one that's not sealed, you can't compare the sounds. But you can listen here to the sound the spoon makes on a properly sealed lid. So I did 4 jars, all 4 jars sealed. I'm not sure you can ask for any more than that. Will they still be sealed in 6 months or a year? I can't swear to that, but I have no reason to think otherwise. This is a good, strong seal. If I have seal failures months down the road, I'll make another little video and show you that. So what is my conclusion? I have several. The first one is that these are good, dependable lids. They work well. My jar's sealed. That's the only job a lid has. The second is that this is a responsive company. They have answered every question I've had quickly and courteously. And my last conclusion is that I'm really glad to see competition. It's not that I have anything against Ball. I certainly don't. It's a good company and I buy from them all the time. But competition is a good thing. And I will happily spend my few dollars with this company, Denali. I can honestly now call myself a customer, and I can recommend this product to you happily. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.